fire, strumming along with our favorite lyre. Adventure call, the quest awaits, your destiny's in the hands of the fates. But never fear, we're all friends here, we'll have your back when danger's near. Come with us through the pages as we unravel a tale for the ages into the Percy-Verse.
Hello and welcome to the Percy-Verse Podcast. I'm Alisa.
And I'm Anna. Grab a red rubber ball and take a raft across the Styx because today we're reading Chapter 18, Annabeth Does Obedience School.
I love this chapter. Yay!
It's a great chapter and also so unexpected. I feel like I still feel like I can remember getting to this title of the chapter and being like, what?
Yes. Well, and also just this chapter for me feels, and I don't know if this will ring true to you or anyone else, but this to me always felt like the Annabeth chapter, the most important Annabeth chapter in this book. Like, I know in other ones we've like learned so much about her, but I just feel like she shines so much in this chapter, and also at the same time we live in like some like melancholic complexity with her.
It's
with
so
where
sad.
it ends. It's so sad that it's just this in my brain has been like Annabeth's moment of a chapter.
Totally. Yeah, and I think following up on the last chapter where Percy got to shine, it's kind of like nice to trade off and also kind of feel their dynamic in this chapter is also really interesting, and I think we can feel like how far we've come throughout the book so far, which is really cool. I think I love some of the little unexpected pieces, and I also think this chapter has so much of like imagining how to smash together the Greek mythological world and the modern world. Like there's so many different nuggets and Easter eggs and little moments that refer, in both directions. So I'm excited to dive in to that.
Yes.
Our heroes are standing in the shadows of Valencia Boulevard, looking at golden etched letters in black marble of DOA Recording Studios. And last time we talked about just how long it took us to realize the DOA dead on arrival.
Even with underneath the fact that it says on the glass doors, no solicitors, no loitering, no living. It still took both of us way too long to realize what DOA was saying.
Yeah, it was not apparent as kids for sure. No living. I'm like, okay.
No.
And then Percy, Annabeth, and Grover like immediately essentially undermine their primary sign on here. And it's almost midnight, but the lobby is brightly lit and full of people because it seems as we read through like it's always full of people. Interestingly though, I would imagine that if a mortal looked in there, it would look like it was never full of people. Because I would guess that Percy, Annabeth, and Grover can only see the spirits of the dead because they're demigods in a satyr. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I also wondered if maybe it just looks like a completely different place to mortals, Like if it looks, because especially in LA, I feel like, I don't know, I don't think you'd want it to look like a recording studio in a city where people are trying to make it in the entertainment industry. Like in my brain I've always wondered and kind of imagined that like it looks maybe like a dilapidated building, or there's something that kind of indicates like mortals don't actually like want to enter here. But I don't know. The no solicitors, no loitering, maybe they do get mortals coming in and out.
That's true. That is a point in that column. It does feel though like they weren't able to find the address or the name anywhere, so it does feel like it's an unlisted I was wondering, is it almost kind of like a Grimmauld Place situation where you just like can't see it if you're a mortal, like you don't even see the building. So I'm curious. We don't really get any information on that, I don't think, anywhere, but at least I think the spirits, I'd imagine, could only be seen maybe by other spirits, demigods, satyrs, gods, kind of like people that are in this mythical, magical world.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, especially because there's a lot in this chapter, especially with like how long it takes Percy to even realize that he's seeing Cerberus. There's a lot that's like playing even tricks on the demigods' minds, and a lot of descriptions of like Percy having to really focus and look really hard in order even to see some of these things. And so it does feel like if it's kind of hard for Percy to do it, it definitely feels like it's the mist mortals. And all this stuff working that
they even talk about like how mortals see what they want to see at one point. So it could be even that they might see different things. Though I do wonder if like Sally and Rachel Elizabeth Dare could just kind of see everything.
Totally.
Like they can see Cerberus from the beginning. Like, interesting to think about. Now, how it would be for them to like willingly go down into the underworld is a whole other thing.
Right.
And what would happen, which honestly, Rachel Elizabeth Dare goes to the underworld is definitely a story I would read.
100%.
Absolutely.
But
I feel like she would just see everything for what it is, which would be really interesting.
And I would be really curious to know if she sees anything differently from the way that demigods see it, because like I think I want to save some of the discussion for when we actually get to that point of like humans see what they want to see, but I feel like Rachel Elizabeth Dare would be seeing
even more.
Yeah,
I like want to see through her eyes. Like I want to see what she would see in the underworld. That's what I'm saying.
But I also think it could be like horrifying and like terrifying.
Totally. Yes.
But also something where like, what's the word for it? Yes. That's gonna bug me, and I'll probably think of it after we finish recording. That's all right.
Probably right after.
But I feel like she would see things that it would your brain would not be able to process.
Does not compute. Not compute.
Yeah.
But back in the lobby, before we get to that part, we have a brightly lit, full of people lobby and a security desk with a tough-looking guard with sunglasses and an earpiece. And this is where we get to, like, one of my favorite parts of this whole chapter. Because I almost love nothing more than when in movies or books or anything, you have someone say, okay, you remember the plan? And like, the reader like doesn't know what the plan is. We're like, no, we don't know what the plan is. What is the plan? And then like, you get to just like watch the plan unfold, but you know that they had a plan. Or like, I love a heist movie where there's something secret happening the whole time. And then when you get to the end, they like flash back and show you the plan you didn't know about. Anything like that. So I read Percy turning to his friends and saying, okay, you remember the plan? And I was like, locked it. I was like, let's go. What's the plan? So, even though I know the plan. But it did remind me a little bit of this whole chapter, for the first time, really made me think of Coco. The Pixar movie. And how you also have like a living kid go into the land of the dead and kind of pretend like try to blend in, and like that's a whole issue,
and like searching for like a family member.
Searching for a family member. Also, like we'll get to it, but like having some kind of security system where you pass through metal detectors. Like anyway, we'll get there, but it really reminded me of Coco. And so this first part where it's like they're pretending to be dead just started off with that kind of reference point now for me. Oh no,
totally, that's so true. I hadn't like made that connection, but it absolutely does fit. You're totally right. I also love getting that like you remember the plan and we don't know what it is and we just discover it as they actually enact the plan. I think it's so much fun, whether it's in books or movies or what have you. They're like kind of nervous about it, and I love this moment where like Percy is worried, he's seeking reassurance, and Annabeth puts her hand on his shoulder and says like, I'm sorry Percy, you're right, we'll make it, it'll be fine. Like that to me, I wrote down as like, man, their friendship has really blossomed and like
totally
grown, and they truly are friends at this point where like she's not making a quip, she's not like being like, why are you nervous or anything like that. She's just like, Percy needs some reassurance in this moment. Like, we'll be fine. It'll be fine. We got this.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, she does have a moment because Grover says, the plan, Yeah, I love the plan, which I was like, I think is so funny. And Annabeth is like, what happens if the plan doesn't work? So like, her worries, she has worries, right?
Yes.
But I think what's really lovely is like Annabeth and Grover really focus in on helping Percy in this moment. So it's like Annabeth says that. She gives Grover a nudge. And then Grover says, oh, right, we got this far. We'll find the Master Bolt and save your mom. No problem. Yeah. And it's like, we know anxious Grover. And so like, we know how much it takes for him to say something like so positive with such certainty. Yeah. That like, he's really making an effort to help Percy feel better. And it's like, at the end of the day, like, as we've discussed, they have so many things, so many levels of things at stake here. They have all of their personal goals and personal interests at stake. They have the weight of the world at stake. They have the fact that this is Percy's quest, even. And I feel like they're really helping him be like, hey, we got you. This is your quest. We're going to make it successful.
Yes. Yeah. And I love that, like, Percy's looks at them, feels really grateful, kind of like takes that in and is like, I love my friends. And before entering says, let's whoop some underworld butt. Classic, like, Percy's like, okay, I'm ready to joke now. Like, I got my reassurance, I'm ready to crack a joke.
Got that friend boost.
And the fact that when they walk in, I love that it's Muzak specifically that's playing. And I feel like I just like want to take a second to appreciate the fact that I feel like Rick Riordan has so much fun with utilizing music in his books, and like what he says is playing where and when, or even the artists that he references. Like, we got Hilary Duff, we're gonna get Barry Manilow later on. Like, I just love how it feels like he has so much fun, and I have so much fun as a reader. Like, all of those very specific things that he throws in.
Well, and this reminds me so much of, it's like a analog to the, or a parallel to the Empire State Building. I just like wrote down, like, this is, we're going to have an elevator. We have music playing. Like, it is a really interesting thing to kind of experience sort of the reverse of what we get in the Empire State Building.
Well, and even the same thing of like a security guard figure then has to go in. There's like a key card that needs to be put in, and like the fact that like I wrote down all the parallels of like, here the elevator goes down first and then it'll go up like for the Empire State Building. But just, I love that there are those parallels, and I think it's really fun that we get the underworld one first, and then, because I even think Percy, if I remember correctly in the book, has a moment where he's like, this feels familiar, you know, where he recognizes that they're kind of like the inverse of one another. And I think especially because like Hades doesn't have a regular throne on Olympus, he can only come to Olympus like once a year. Having all of the parallels,
he's like, this is my elevator.
He's like, you have a fun one, I have a fun one.
Like, and mine goes forward.
Mine is even trippier than yours is.
Yes. I love the idea of them like trying to one up each other on their elevators. I was gonna say earlier, there are two sides of the same drachma.
Oh yes, nice.
But did you notice the leather reference in the DOA studio? Because when I read that the furniture was black leather, also, side note, or a main note, pencil cactuses are growing out in the corners like skeleton hands, so that's a vibe. But just like, the furniture is black leather because in the Percy Jackson books, anything that is leather is dangerous to Percy. Like, that is kind of where we're at.
Well, and tied to like the underworld, because like, you know, Tartarus is basically just like beneath the underworld. And there were so many things here, like the black leather, and also the silk Italian suit that Charon is wearing. Like, there are so many visual like themes or like points that will stay with us for the rest. I was like, Hades, especially when he's like talking with Nico, like Hades is always in his silk Italian suit, like, you know. And so it was, I was making note of all of those that we get here, that I'm like, oh, this is visually how anyone who's associated with the underworld or tied with it, or Hades himself, is like described, or they're linked with these visual cues.
Totally.
Throughout the series.
And it's just, you know, Ares, I think, was our example of like even leather beyond the underworld.
Yes.
That, you know, so it's kind of just like leather equals dangerous to Percy is also kind of like an underlying kind of theme here.
It's like just depending on what type of leather. Depending on what type of leather it is. Right. Because Ares had his own scarier. Almost leather. Yeah. It's like if it's bat leathery versus.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But one thing I wondered is it confirmed canonically that Karen is the one that shows up at the Lotus Casino for Nico and Bianca? Because I remember it's like a man in a suit. And as I was reading this, I'm like, maybe everyone involved with Hades just wears these suits. But I was just, I don't know, as I read that, I was like, is that Karen or someone else? And like, I didn't remember if that's something.
It's been too long, I can't remember off the top of my head. Yeah.
But I remember it's like a man in a suit.
Yes, no, I do remember that, but
so I thought that was interesting.
I can't remember off the top of my head if we learned specifically who the man in the suit is. Because I do feel like I remember that there's a point in time where Nico's like, who was the man in the suit?
Right.
But yeah, I don't remember if we learn. Because it would make sense.
If it's Karen, yeah. Or if it's another minion. But it just made me curious reading about this suit. This hair shaved military style. Chocolate-colored skin, bleach, blonde hair, tall and elegant, tortoiseshell shades, try saying that 5 times fast, and a silk Italian suit with a black rose pinned on the lapel under a silver name tag, reading Kara. It's just like a whole vibe. I feel like he really painted a picture with that one.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And a very, like, one thing that I do appreciate about his, like, visual imagery with the modern day versions of like the underworld and everyone who runs it is that I appreciate that. I feel like Rick Riordan is like the jewels, the like wealth that is also tied with the underworld because of the like riches and stuff that exist within the earth. Like I like that that's visually brought in, you know, with these like fancy shades and an expensive suit and a black rose, and that there is this like elegance to everyone, like in their dress and also in the like visual depiction of the spaces and everything. And I like that because I feel like, you know, in media more broadly speaking, outside of anyone who's like trying to interpret Greek mythology, I feel like anything that is an interpretation of the underworld really just leads into like Halloween and it's scary. You know, like, and like
just the death part and just and
just
that
the
being
death,
scary, not being
and specifically
routine.
Like not just the death, but like if it's underworld, then it's like the torture side of death, and not
totally
the you were good and you get the fun party,
right?
Like afterlife.
It's more like imposing the more like hell, like the concept of hell onto it, rather than like, I think Rick Riordan does a good job of like having a well-rounded kind of view of Hades and the underworld, and taking the true Greek mythology route of like, this is a complex, dynamic space that has a lot of different stuff going on. And Hades is not just about death, and death isn't just scary.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Because even the fact that like the like Elysium, another one that
I think.
Elysium, you know, like it's all in the underworld. Like you know, like the fields of Asphodel, like every place. It all exists in the same, you know, area. You're going down to the same place, which I also
Hades Town, way down under the ground.
I've also found like I love learning about like all different mythologies, conceptions of like afterlife in the underworld, and I've just always like found it particularly interesting. With Greek mythology, that like it all exists within the same realm, that there isn't a like realm differentiation in terms of like, oh, if you are in the great place, then it's located in an entirely different space than like the people who are getting punished or the people who just kind of are in our version of purgatory. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, you still have those distinctions, but yes, I think them all being in the underworld is definitely a difference. And I love then that we get this issue of confusion of the name Charon versus Chiron, and you can tell that Charon is over it.
And also just reading this, especially after last week's episode where I just spent the whole chapter not knowing how to pronounce any name, any word.
Did you feel personally attacked here?
I felt both personally attacked and seen, and was like, look, if I could just get a little in parentheses.
Right. You're like, actually, I need this for every single word, please.
Yes. Just write it out phonetically for me, please.
Yes.
Just little brackets, little parentheses or something. Like, writing out Charon, I was like, I've always now, since reading it, the book the first time, been like, oh, it's Charon.
Totally.
Perfect. I know how to pronounce that name. But yeah.
Now that I'm seeing that Care, C-A-R-E on, kind of sounds like maybe an international medical aid organization, or you know,
me, it sounded like I'd never watched the Power Rangers, so this might not be the right
reference. A slogan,
yes, it sounds like Care On, yeah, or Flame On, with Johnny Storm. It just to me it sounded like a superhero's catchphrase, and then this person turns into a doctor.
Maybe it's
or
Baymax's slogan. Care On.
It is.
Yeah. Funny, but it's just funny because it's about someone who takes people who are dead to the underworld. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just kind of funny. It was just about how to pronounce it, but looking at it, it's kind of.
No, it is. Yeah.
But he's just don't confuse me with that old horseman. And I'm like, rude. I feel like Chiron also is probably not a fan of Charon, would be my guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's rude.
Yes. And the other thing that I do want to point out that I kind of liked about this depiction of Charon is that Percy can't pin down an accent. Mm-hmm. This description of Percy's maybe it's British. It seems like he's learned English as a second language, which would make sense for any Greek mythological being. English would be their second language. But I think for an eternal, immortal being, I just kind of liked the idea, especially because we know that since the where the gods are lives with whatever the heart of the West is, so it's moved throughout time, that they would all kind of have an amalgamation of all of these different accents and languages and ways of speaking, and so then they'd all kind of have this you can't pinpoint it down type of accent. And also personally, just because I feel there's too much fantasy that only has British accents. I'm
great.
Fantasy can have more than a British accent.
Many accents. Yes, totally.
There's so many accents that can exist in fantasy. So I also, but specifically for this, it feels like it makes sense for these characters who have been alive for so long and been anchored in so many different parts of the world to have something their accents to be an amalgamation of everything and therefore not totally identifiable.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think we get a little hint at our question about whether mortals would be able to see DOA, just because he says, "How may I help you, little dead ones?" Mm-hmm. And so he's assuming that they're dead.
Right.
And that makes me think that only the dead / magical beings or demigods can come in to DOA. So that kind of supports that idea. And Percy says the question catches in his stomach like a fastball, which I liked that description a lot. Mm-hmm. And Annabeth just straight up says, "We want to go to the underworld," which I was like,
she means business.
Yeah. She's like, "We're not messing around." Yeah. I mean, we don't have time to mess around. That is true.
No,
we're fast approaching our deadline.
Yeah.
And I love that Karen's like, "Well, that's refreshing. Usually people are begging to not be here." So it's kind of funny. And then, listen, we had gotten better at our stories. We had gotten better. Percy had improved. So they had a plan. Like, I was told at the beginning of this chapter that they had a plan, right? And I would think that this plan would include, how did we die if we're pretending to be dead?
Yeah.
And here's my thoughts. If the plan they go with was the original plan, I have questions. Okay. If the plan did not include knowing how they died, I still have questions. So either way, I have unanswered questions here.
But so the fact that it goes after Karen asks, how did you die then? It says, I nudged Grover. Yeah. And then Grover responds. So in my brain, part of the plan is them having worked out that Grover's going to be the one to say
maybe
that they drowned in a bathtub, which is so silly.
It's so silly. So like, I still have questions.
It's like they're at a point where they do better when they're improvising in the moment and not pre-planning.
Apparently, that's what we've learned. Because Grover says, drowned in a bathtub, which with many ellipses in between, by the way. Yeah. And then Karen says, all three of you? Uh-huh. And they just nod, which I guess means it was the plan, but and then Karen looks mildly impressed, not suspicious, I don't know how, and says, big bathtub.
Well, to be fair to Karen, I am sure that Karen has heard over like thousands of years just the weirdest way that people have died.
I'm sure.
Like the weirdest way. And I'm now remembering the story of and we get it in Labyrinth when Daedalus, I'm blanking on her name. Daedalus gives her the thing that she puts in the bathtub and she ends up killing the guy. Is it?
Or one of Ariadne's sisters.
Is that who it is? Wow, my memory is not serving me at all today. But like, there's a little Greek mythology like that we'll get in Labyrinth. True, of someone who did die in a bathtub.
That's true.
And I feel like, if you've been alive for thousands of years and you've had to hear how like every person has died, there are going to be some very weird ones, and I think you're probably we're like, sure. In a three people bathtub. In a bathtub. It was a big bathtub.
Kind of sounds like a nursery rhyme or something. And then Karen is like, I don't suppose you have coins for passage. And then he goes on to explain that for adults, he can charge their American Express or add the ferry price to the last cable bill. But with children, they never die prepared. So they'll have to take a seat for a few centuries. And there's so much there's definitely some flippant humor around death here for sure. Yeah. But also the idea that the underworld is charging credit cards for passage on the ferry.
Well, and I love that modernization of having to have the drachmas with you when you die so you can pay him, and you can be like, we take credit cards now, it doesn't have to be drachmas anymore. And one of the things that I did Google to double check, because here it says you have to take a seat for a few centuries. I couldn't remember how long people had to wait when they passed without having drachmas on them, and it is at least 100 years, but it could be longer.
Wow!
So
in
Greek mythology. Wow. Yeah. It was definitively you had to wait for 100 years, but it could be longer. So his few centuries.
You need to be buried with a drachma, essentially.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're kind of floating. Otherwise, originally it's you're wading basically at the river, and you can't cross over, and basically here they've kind of modernized it. There's a pre-waiting room, right, which is DOA, and then
right, and Percy. So Percy's about to continue, I think, his vibe from Krusty's.
Yes.
He has his sort of showman / sort of power trip energy still online.
Absolutely.
He shows Krusty 3 golden drachmas, even though we find out that they have a whole big stash, which I did write monster offices equals useful on the side of my notes, because they do find money and other various useful things and addresses in monster offices quite frequently in this book. And he sees Karen get quite excited, saying, real golden drachmas, I haven't seen these and his fingers are hovering greedily, and he is quite intrigued. So Percy's kind of getting this information that he's going to use against him. And then Karen realizes the cold stare behind his glasses seems to bore a hole in Percy's chest. Here now, you couldn't read my name correctly. Are you dyslexic, lad? Which I love that is a really funny question.
I love that it's the dyslexia that came.
Yep.
He's like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
The only reason for dyslexia happening is if
Hold up
you're
minute.
a little godling.
Yeah, exactly. So for anyone listening, if you have dyslexia, you're a little godling. That is what it is.
Yep.
And Percy's just like, we have to get to the underworld. He's like, I don't even care. Just let us through. Let us in.
I feel like the whole vibe that he continues to have from here on out when he's kind of like bribing Charon and everything, I felt like even though the Lotus Casino didn't have that vibe, I feel like there's something about Vegas that changed Percy that he like tapped into with Krusty and he's like maintained here with like the kind of like he like becomes like suave and
like bravado
bravado and like has this like air of authority and is like when he's stacking coins.
I know. Well, so first he says no service, no tip, and he snatches the coins really quickly. So that's his first. He thinks super quick and reacts very quickly because Karen's like, leave all you can. I'll just take the coins and forget that I saw you. And then Karen's growl just keeps getting more and more and more threatening after everything Percy says.
It does, and also is influencing the spirits in the room, which very much reminded me of Ares.
Totally.
And just felt like another moment of like a god like having these, like a deity having these abilities to like their emotions influencing and changing the emotions of humans.
Totally.
Dead humans.
They're like getting more and more agitated. Like by the end of it, they start pounding on the elevator doors, which is terrifying. Like I'm like, this is like really scary as we're reading this. I'm getting more and more scared. But this is where Percy, like in the middle of the spirits of the dead, pounding on the elevator doors, like that's the level of like intensity we're at. He's like, it's a shame too. We had more to offer. Like he's just straight suave bravado, and he holds up the entire bag, and then he takes, this is so showmany, takes a fistful of drachmas and lets them spill through his fingers. Like, Percy, where did you learn these moves? Like, what is happening? I agree, he's been Vegasified. And so then Charon is like, do you think I can be bought? But then he's like, but how much do you, but how much you got? But like, you got more. Percy's like, a lot. And this is where he does kind of like what he pulled with Krusty is like some psychology, where he's like, I bet Hades doesn't pay you well enough for all that hard work. And it's so funny too, because I feel like in like, where are Annabeth and Grover in this? Like Percy basically just like full on like manipulating this god, and Percy and Annabeth and Grover haven't even said, like, they're not even like Percy or anything. They're just like step back, let Percy do his thing. Like he's still on his power trip. We're just gonna let him get us through these doors. And then Karen falls for that, and he's like, you don't know the half of it. How would you like to babysit these spirits all day? Do you imagine suits like this come cheap? And he's like fully kind of spilling all the things.
I feel like this tactic is something that we end up seeing Percy doing so many times in future books of like finding the way in which someone feels underappreciated and undervalued. Like with this, it's like I picking up on like money's really important. I bet he doesn't pay you enough, which those are just so funny to think of, like Charon being a salaried employee.
Right.
And like,
and like the suit becomes the robe, so it's like it feels almost like they're more of an illusion. So to learn that he like there's something he has to pay for, like it comes out of the budget somehow.
I know. Yeah. But I feel like Percy just does a really good job at like finding that thing, like finding whatever it is that someone feels they're being like undervalued for, is underappreciated about them, and being like, people don't see that you do I see, like, you know, how hard you're working. I see whatever.
Which this is kind of like a scary thing, but I think Kronos is also really good at that. And I feel like this is a really good example of like, with great power comes great responsibility.
Totally.
And, like, Percy, fortunately, is the hero of our story. And, like, generally speaking, uses it either against monsters who are tending to want to kill him first, you know, or, you know, he's using it to further what we would say is, like, a heroic aim. But it is, like, a little manipulative, and it is kind of like it could be used for evil very easily.
Yes. My brain was just thinking about how the Super Carlin brothers will do those kind of like alternate universes, like if Harry had been in Slytherin or, you know, hadn't been raised by the Dursleys or whatever. And I just was like thinking about like, God, what's the alternate universe where like Kronos convinces Percy and not Luke?
Totally.
And Percy's the one that he wins over. Like, that's a terrifying alternate
It would be
universe.
interesting to do that one as somehow Talia or maybe Nico is like ends up being the one of the prophecy.
Totally, yes.
But like we're not sure because they're all in play or something.
Yeah,
that would be really interesting.
We should work on that. Yeah,
we'll put a pin in that one.
Also, you're not going to get this reference, but I just have to say, for anyone out there, we're recording this like the week after The Life of a Showgirl came out. So for anyone who's listened and will understand this, I just have to say, reading this whole part where Percy's doing all this stuff, stacking the coins, everything, I just had father figure in my head as like what the vibe of Percy was on in this moment. So I just have to say, for anyone out there who might get that was the soundtrack in my head for this part of the chapter. Anna, you've not heard it. You have no clue what I'm talking about.
For anyone who doesn't get that, you know, team Anna.
Yeah.
Sort yourselves accordingly in the comment section. I love that.
But anyways, back to this this actual moment in the chapter. So we now reach the point where with as Percy's saying, you deserve better, a little appreciation, respect, good pay. He's, with every word he's saying, he's stacking another gold coin on the counter. Wild Percy.
I know.
Yeah. And Charon is now like, you're making sense. Like, Charon's like, I can be
starting
bought
to
for
see
the right
things
price.
from your perspective.
I can be bought. And then I think this was brilliant on Percy's part, where he says, I could mention a pay raise while I'm talking to Hades. Like, and making it beneficial for Charon, not just in the moment monetarily, but like, I can help you out down, like, more permanently down the line. I think was so smart. And then that's when Charon gives in, and he's like, well, boat's almost full anyways. Might as well just go ahead, take off with you three added with.
It's like the reverse of let me speak to your manager. It's like, I could speak to your manager and put in a good word for you.
And make your life better.
I kind of want like a flow chart of like an org chart of the underworld of like who reports to who and like
who's HR.
Yeah.
Who's running HR?
Well, not sure they have that so much.
There's so much. I feel like so much of what we learn is that there actually is like an incredible amount of bureaucracy in the gods and how they work.
Yes.
That I'm like, I think there is. I think it might be like a very minor god.
It's like that one little office just like off to the side. You have to walk really, really far to get there, like past all the tortures and all that stuff. And it's just like standalone little building that's just one office with like a little HR lead.
That is the workplace sitcom that we need. The HR department of the underworld
sitcom. That would be hilarious. I love that, and would also be on the Olympus TV guide that we discussed.
Oh, absolutely.
A little while back.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's funny. We gotta do that. But yeah, Charon's like, fine. Boat's almost full. Might as well add you three. What are three more?
Yeah.
You know, demigods. And what is all this money? He scoops up all the money. He's like, let's go. And the crowd of waiting spirits are grabbing at their clothes like the wind.
Yeah.
Which I really liked that description.
What a description.
Yeah.
And Percy, like, he says that their voices are whispering things that he couldn't make out. And Charon's having to shove them out of the way, and he grumbles at them, freeloaders. I guess because, none of them had drachmas with them. Or, I don't know. I guess
whatever the equivalent is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of like sad moments that we don't like sit with the sadness in all of those moments, but there's a lot of these sad moments of, I think one thing that I remember reading about, someone writing about Coco afterwards was just like it kind of being sad or depressing that like the idea that a spirit world beyond this one would have bureaucracy or like have metal detectors or like have classic systems and stuff like that.
Right.
And I think I was just feeling that a lot as I was reading this.
Yeah.
Of like, I would hope that a place for spirits would be classless, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think that to me speaks more about like humans and how like and
totally
society and how societal structures are so strong and they're so ingrained that like we as humans cannot conceptualize of an afterlife that does not have those same
doesn't look like our
structures.
Reality. We're like always
in them.
imposing it onto there, but
because I think if you imagine an afterlife that doesn't have these systems of like class and all these things in a way of gatekeeping levels of who's the best and who's okay and who's bad and all these things, then I think all of a sudden it makes you go, well, then why do we have them here? If when we die it doesn't matter, then why does it matter when we're alive? And it's like, okay, then it has to matter when we're dead, because otherwise then everything humans have created for societal structures crumbles in its meaning if it holds no weight after you die.
Afterwards. Also, like, why am I believing in this particular, like, religious or deity system if it doesn't matter later? So it's like, it definitely is an effective way of, controlling behavior and, like, trying to get people to live the way that you say they should live so that afterwards they, like, have some kind of reward or punishment for it. So, yeah, I understand the mechanism. I just feels sad and limiting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So, Yeah. No, for sure. It is very sad. So they all enter the elevator, and the souls already in the elevator all have a green boarding pass. And I do appreciate these little moments of levity. Like, that just kind of made me laugh.
Yeah.
They have tickets. Like, even they're already in the elevator. There's no need for them to have a ticket.
But they do.
But they have a boarding pass.
Because
we're in the 21st century, and so they gotta have something. And then Charon kind of like before they fully leave basically tells everyone in the waiting room, like, don't get any ideas, don't mess with anything. And specifically he says, and if anyone moves the dial off my easy listening station again, I'll make sure you're here for another 1,000 years, understood? Which means to me that station has been messed with like multiple times.
Many
like,
times.
every time he leaves, someone is changing the station.
Absolutely. Well, they're stuck in DOA recording studios for however many centuries. So it might be the only little pleasure they have left is to mess with Karen's radio dial. It is quite funny. Yeah. Yes. And Annabeth asks what happens to the spirits waiting in the lobby. And Karen says, nothing. For how long? Forever, or until I'm feeling generous. And then Annabeth can't kind of help herself and says, oh, that's fair. And Karen's like, well, whoever said death was fair, young miss, wait until it's your turn. You'll die soon enough where you're going. And Percy's like, we'll get out alive, which I just love. That's like a very like hero statement going into the scary moment,
Gumption.
He's like, and he just says, ha.
I do think like that is, especially because last chapter we were kind of talking about like Percy's like moral philosophy that's currently being developed. I think it's also really interesting to like see what all of these like deities' moral philosophies are, and Charon just kind of being like, well, death isn't fair. So like why, like, and how that then informs this system that's in place of like, if death isn't fair, which I think that like really, for me, gets like hits home when we get the description of who is disembarking on the boat, and we find out that it's like an old man and an old woman, but also a woman holding a little girl's hand and a boy that's no older than Percy was. And I feel like that immediately made me think back to right in this moment when Charon is like, death isn't fair. Yeah. And you see it isn't, you know, because like if it were, then there would not be little kids disembarking that boat. Absolutely. And so I do think it's really interesting to see like how all of these, the dominions that they have, how that informs their like moral philosophy and their views and their beliefs. Like, I just think that's really fascinating that like,
for sure,
gods have their own, that they all kind of have their own moral compasses that I think are very much determined by their domains.
Totally. I agree. And this is also where we get Charon's transformation, where the creamy Italian suit is replaced by a long black robe. He doesn't have his tortoiseshell glasses anymore, and where his eyes should have been were empty sockets, kind of like Ares, except Charon's are totally dark, full of night and death and despair. So we get more magic eyes.
Eyes again. Eyes are such an important descriptor. They're so important. I have never paid more attention to eyes being described in this book until this reread because of you way back with Sally Jackson being like, she's got magic eyes. She's got magic eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, they keep coming up over and over again. But then it's interesting the way that a skull can look like it's grinning, and that's often how it's portrayed, that it starts to seem like Charon is grinning, but it's just that his face is becoming more transparent, and we're seeing straight through to his skull. So, like, that's really interesting, and the floor keeps swaying, and Grover's getting seasick, and I just wrote, like, this ride has never felt longer than reading it this time. Like staying in every detail of like the elevator ride that goes down, that goes forward. Like it hasn't even become a raft yet. And like it just felt so not just ominous, but like it felt like such an embodied experience this time around. More so than I think other times that I've read it. And I found that really interesting.
Yeah, and this time around those specific transition moments really stood out to me, and I felt like I was watching it in a movie. Like I felt like I was there, but also like watching it in a movie. It's so visual. It's so cool. Like I just love how everything transitions in these moments where it's like, wait, it changed. How did it change? Wait, it's and it's kind of trippy and it's like discombobulating in the way or like disorienting in the way that it all transitions until you're finally at that last one and you're actually at the River Styx and everything has like completed that change from like modern to ancient.
Which is also cool because so much of this is it's sort of in reverse, right? Where the ancient becomes modern, right? And it is interesting, these sort of unveiling moments of like coming back into an ancient space. And at that point the elevator's not an elevator anymore. They're standing on a wooden barge. Charon is pulling them across a dark oily river swirling with bones, dead fish, other stranger things like plastic dolls, crushed carnations, soggy diplomas with gilt edges. And I just wrote more gross water. Like gross water is a theme. Big theme in this book.
Well, I mean the Styx is like just as polluted as our waters are on Earth.
Yeah, because Charon explains that for thousands of years humans have been throwing everything as they come across hopes, dreams, and wishes that never came true. Irresponsible waste management, if you ask me. So it's like we get a little bit more humor in there, but it is interesting to think of like, how we regret, what that looks like. If you did have a moment between life and death of like a passing through, like what you might cast off. And it definitely, when you read it this slowly and closely, you're kind of like, okay, I think I want to
It's
take
heavy.
inventory and like,
Yes.
like what would I be
Yes.
throwing? What do I want to make sure I do right now?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Especially because what I find so interesting about what it's described as being in the River Styx is like, it's all like, it doesn't seem to so much tied to regrets of like, maybe like how you might have like mistreated someone once or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's more about like the moments of life you didn't live. Like in death, you're having to cast off maybe these things. Like with the soggy diplomas, it made me wonder like,
Right.
was that the dream of someone who like wanted to go to college or finish college and never got the chance
Totally.
to do that? Where like it feels like it's about all the moments of life that you didn't live and that you now in
Yes.
death wish you had and regret that you
Yeah.
hadn't.
Yeah. It makes you think.
Mm-hmm.
But before you can fully think about it, the far shore is glimmering with greenish light, the color of poison. So that's always a good sign that you're going in the right direction.
That made me think of it's been so long since I've read it, literally since whenever that was in high school and but the oh my gosh, The Great Gatsby with the green light. There's like the green light right in The Great Gatsby. I don't know, it just made me think of that.
It
made me wish I had read The Great Gatsby recently
school,
enough to remember what the green light means in it, but I don't.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Anyone in the comments who's read it,
let us know.
Please tell me
if a connection,
or it's just two green lights, and my brain went green light here, green light there.
Also, like
they are
green poison lights, like that all like often goes together. I'm imagining some sort of like Disney movie interpretations and things like that.
Totally. Oh yeah.
But I'm curious about that. That's really interesting. Yeah. Yeah, somehow tying in The Great Gatsby, Percy Jackson, and Greek mythology. That's like the trifecta you never thought you'd put together.
You have an English degree.
You do. Let us know in the comments if you knew the answer to that. If you have an English degree. Yeah, and that's when Percy starts to be like, "Oh,
it's getting real.
I'm in the underworld." Like, panic closed up my throat. What was I doing here? These people around me, they were dead. And it just like sinks in. And it's like, it's so funny because I have experienced moments like that in life where like I've been in a situation and then I'm like, wait, I'm like in this situation.
Yes.
And this is like the reality of this situation. Like,
it's like you actually become aware. And all of a sudden you're like, I'm present. Panicking.
Yeah, you're like, I stopped dissociating for a minute and I'm fully feeling the feelings and I understand now why I was dissociating before now and maybe I'd like to go back to that, please. Do I have a choice in this? And it seems like Annabeth has this feeling at the exact same time because in the second sweet moment of Annabeth, Percy, like, seeing their growth in their relationship, she grabs his hand. And I think this one's particularly meaningful because earlier in the book, she's embarrassed to even get in the thrill ride of love with him. Like, that makes her cheeks red and she's freaking out about it.
Yeah.
And in this moment, she grabs his hand and Percy says, under normal circumstances, this would have embarrassed me, but I understood how she felt. She wanted reassurance that somebody else was alive on this boat. And my question was, what about Grover?
Okay, that was... So, yes. And the reason why it made sense to me that Percy and Annabeth had this moment and Grover didn't is because... And now, obviously, Percy doesn't know this, and, maybe it's just a kind of logistical positioning of where they're standing.
Totally. We don't have the diagram of the boat.
Yeah, but where my brain went to was the fact that satyrs don't have an afterlife in the way that humans do. Like, they become they become a plant, right? Like a little sapling.
Yeah,
right?
they get reincarnated as a plant. Well, it could be any kind of plant.
Any kind of plant, yes.
I think.
And so that, for me, it felt like it made sense for the two humans who are kind of facing, like, we will actually be returning to this place at some point in time. And Grover is like, hey, I'm here.
I'm just vibing.
I'm a tourist. Like, I won't be returning here unless I decide to. It made sense that it's Percy and Annabeth. Now, does Percy know that about Grover yet? No, he does not.
Yeah.
Annabeth does. I'm assuming because she's so knowledgeable. But yeah,
and also like maybe Annabeth is holding Grover's hand on the other side. We just don't get that description. But it was just funny because like it was it's so sweet. It's so sweet. It's so sweet. And then I was like, what about Grover though? Who's holding Grover's hand? Because I just poor anxious Grover. I feel like he needs a friend.
Yeah.
But okay, that just made me have a curiosity.
Okay, well, just the last thing I'll say is that's why to me it made sense why Grover was not like panicked in this moment. Yes. Because he's not having to confront anything related to, like, him and what happens to him after he dies.
Totally. So, I think that makes sense. So my question is, could a satyr be reincarnated as a plant in Persephone's garden and thus end up in the underworld?
Oh. Well, doesn't Persephone have to bring things to her garden?
I mean, that could still be... That could still be bringing a plant that was a satyr.
I was more getting into the detailed logistics of can.
Well, so like she gets stuck there because she eats the pomegranates that are already there, right?
Yes. Well,
which are growing there.
Well, yes, but so the logistics that my brain was trying to figure out is: do the plants grow of their own accord, or does someone from do you have to go outside of the underworld, take seeds,
bring a plant,
bring a plant?
I don't know the answer to that,
because it feels to me like you'd have to bring the seeds and then they can grow and stuff, but they're not naturally occurring
underworld plants.
What's the eco?
When we get to the description of the garden, maybe we'll get a better sense of that.
Yes,
but whether they grow there or are brought there, I'm just like, is there a way? My brain went, is there a way for satyrs to end up in the underworld? And I was like, Persephone's garden. And then I was like, would that suck?
I don't know.
Or not,
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, they want to get sunlight. I feel like they would like the sunlight.
But somehow they still grow.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I don't know. That is interesting.
So, that's my question.
Are there... tree nymphs and stuff in the
that's what right, exactly.
Are there spirits in the way that Juniper who we'll meet later on,
right? And the plants in the garden.
I feel like if I were Persephone, I would want to make sure I was stocked in to have people to talk to.
Absolutely, that's the loophole.
I'd be like, I'm so sorry,
just have all of these.
I need someone to talk to.
Yes, that's totally the loophole for not getting bored in the underworld.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if she isn't already doing that, she should totally start, because that seems useful. Assuming they could grow there. Again, we'll focus on that in the garden part, but I just was like, maybe there is a way,
Yeah, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
And then so back to the boat. I find it really interesting.
Standing by himself, no one holding his hand, with Annabeth and Percy having their sweet moment. Yes. Yeah.
Percy finds himself muttering a prayer and doesn't really know who he's praying to.
I thought that was really interesting after all of our conversations about faith and having faith and who has faith. And
no, absolutely. And I love the drama of down here only one God mattered, and he was the one I had come to confront. It's so dramatic.
Totally.
I love it. I'm praying to I don't know who, but down here there's only one God that matters.
Totally.
But then they arrive at the shoreline, which is described as being craggy rocks and black volcanic sand stretching inland about 100 yards to the base of a high stone wall, which marched off in either direction as far as they could see. And I do love the description of a wall marching.
Totally.
It feels so military and
imposing, official.
Yes, hostile almost a little bit too. Yes. And then this is the first time that Percy notes that a sound came from somewhere nearby in the green gloom, echoing off the stones, the howl of a large animal. And I just have to say that I think it's kind of comical how long it takes them to realize that the howl is Cerberus.
It feels so long reading it this way.
It's so long.
It takes so long.
We get multiple moments of Percy being like, there's that howl again. Who could that be? but then
weird.
also at the same time being like, I haven't seen Cerberus yet. That's crazy. And
Right.
what do you think is happening?
Well, and Karen says, Old Three-Face is hungry. Bad luck for you, godlings. So it's like, it is really, really funny. He's like, it just sounds really disembodied. Like, I don't know what's happening. Like,
and every time I'm describing it as a how, but
maybe to my point earlier, Percy just went ahead and dissociated again because it was too scary to confront death. And so he's just kind of like not fully here right now.
And he's one thought that Hal's crazy. Another thought, dang, I haven't seen Cerberus.
Where's
I wonder,
that dog?
that's crazy. Where's that dog at?
I remember him from the test.
Yeah,
I feel like we've really constructed like what was on the test by the time we're done with this book. Like we know what was on the final, and I kind of want to write out all the questions because I was
about to say I do feel like we need to make the test.
I feel like we know. I also think that would be a really good subscription box item for when we make the
absolutely.
Percy Jackson subscription box. Is the test, and then you can take the test, and then you could like check your answers online.
Yep.
I like it.
Yes.
Yes.
But yes, yeah. So the boat slides onto the black sand, and the dead disembark, and this is when we get that description of who's on the boat, and it's really sad because it's like really little kids all the way up to an old man and an old woman, in terms of age, and Charon wishes them luck, but says, "I'd wish you'd luck, mate, but there isn't any down here," and then
also interesting.
Yes, and then says, mind you, don't forget to mention my pay raise. So he's like, I'm going to hold you to that. Yep. And then he counts the coins one more time. And he's just like...
a little obsessed.
Yeah. And then as he's leaving, he warbled something that sounded like a Barry Manilow song as he goes back across the river. And the group follows the spirits up a well-worn path. Which I think is probably an apt description.
Interesting. Yes, but if they are transparent, who is wearing the path down?
I feel like I was imagining it as like because they're now in the underworld and like the realm.
They have a little more
dead.
of like a body.
Yeah, there's a little. Maybe there's a little bit more, or also just that maybe after thousands and thousands of years, there finally is some,
Or it's a different kind of wear that we're not. That's not the same as in our mortal. Yeah, somehow the path has emotional wearing on it. It's more of a metaphor.
Yeah, it's more of a metaphor of just like the pain of loss and grief,
thousands and thousands of years of death.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, I can work with that. It's funny because Percy's like, I'm not sure what I was expecting, pearly gates or a big black portcullis or something, and he's like. Would it be like Christian heaven? Would it be like Christian hell?
No.
Would it be, because it's like we get these, whatever your religion or like non-religion is, I feel like you get these images of like what.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Death and crossing over and whatever it looks like. So, but he says the entrance to the underworld looked like a cross between airport security and the Jersey Turnpike, which just
so funny.
Maybe the worst answer. Actually, like that's not great. That immediately provokes stress and exhaustion in me, at least.
Yes.
And this is also where it reminded me a lot of Coco and like having to go through the security in order to cross through, and like someone has to have someone has to have your picture in order for you to cross through, otherwise you can't, and like kind of stuff like that.
It is interesting how like with that it was picture, with here it's like the payment, that there is like to that
some transaction,
like that happens, element of like classism, though it can be depicted, require different things, like that transactional element, being able to separate people out and like having and not having is interesting.
Absolutely.
But we get this description that there are 3 separate entrances under this huge black archway that says you are now entering Erebus. I'm going to say it's Arab. I swear, I read these chapters and every time I'm like, I'm going to Google how to say these words, and then I get so invested in reading and taking notes that I forget to Google the words, and I forget that I'm going to have to say them out loud.
The story's just too good. The story's
just too good. And we get different, the three lines are differentiated between, there are two marked attendant on duty and then one marked easy death, spelled letters easy and then death, which is great. And Annabeth explains that the fast line, so easy death, must go straight to the asphodel fields. Basically no contest. They don't want to risk judgment from the court because it might go against them. Which, God, like, what a decision to have to make. Like,
totally.
You've passed away and then you're confronted with, like, do I, like, want to be judged for my life or not?
Right.
And potentially either go to, like, forever party land, it's great, or, like, eternal
Be
torment.
punished. Yeah.
Or do I just not want to deal with that at all and say, that's fine, send me to where I'm just going to kind of float in the fields.
And you could wait in line forever and ever and ever and then find out you're going to asphodel anyway.
Yes.
Which is what happened to Hazel.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think she waited forever and ever, but I'm just saying, like...
No, I know.
That's also, tricky.
Yeah. Yeah. So that just, for this chapter is just so full of moments that when you really have to sit with them, you're like, God, that's heavy. That's a lot. And it makes you, like, reflect on your own life and, like,
totally
what you've done so far and what you want to do in the future, and
having to think, what line would you get in?
Yeah, what line would you get in?
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
Well, and then it's a toss-up of who will be judging you.
Yes.
They rotate out, and some of these characters, so we have King Minos, Thomas Jefferson, Shakespeare. First of all, the other thing I want you to put in the comments is who else is judging on this,
absolutely.
Council of Death. Because I'm like, I want to know who else we think is on there. But I'm just like, hey, some of these people did some not so good things themselves, and I don't know why they're judging me.
Looking at...
And how does that affect how they would judge me too?
Yeah.
Like I don't even know if I trust your judgment. Like, you know?
No, absolutely. Well, and also my brain was trying to think about, like, okay, how would you go about trying to select a panel? And, like, like, would you want to have, like if you had someone on the panel, like, would you want to kind of have, like, different moral compasses?
Right.
But then also, like, I just... there's
or is there, like, some criteria they're all supposed to be using, like, at the Olympics? Like, all the judges have the same criteria they're scoring on?
Yeah.
And, like, then they lift up a little paper, you know? Like, how does that even work? And also, are there any women? Because I'm like... That feels like a problem, too.
Yes.
Like, the examples we're given here, I'm just not into it.
And anyone who isn't white, and
etc.
Yes.
Yeah,
the many.
And anyone who's non-binary. And I'm just like, let's start, like, I don't know about these three dudes that
Also, I'm like, is there, like, just ever a regular person?
Right.
You know, like, is there ever just,
and
like, a regular
Steve.
person who lived, like, solid life, didn't really do anything bad, did,
because
like,
are we to assume that, like, these people made it to... Like, no way. Like, that whoever's on the council...
Thomas
like,
Jefferson?
That's what I'm saying. Like, are we to assume that they made it to, like, Elysium or something? Or...
Based on...
Why are they...
I'd argue he shouldn't be there.
I argue he should be, you know...
If you read history, he shouldn't be there.
I would say so. So that's why I'm like, okay, how do we pick the judges?
This just and feels that's what I was wondering, like, do you have, like, a representative for, like... punishment, like the fields of like, do you have representative, like, do you kind of have representative for each one,
like maybe someone from Elysium is representing the fields of punishment?
Maybe.
Okay,
like,
I like that
Elysium,
take better.
Someone from Asphodel, someone from the fields of punishment.
I like that read better.
That they all kind of, and then, like, to represent
that's interesting,
every option. And
so where do you think Shakespeare's from?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know enough about...
I mean,
like,
Shakespeare definitely was
life.
a demigod. Like, I think we talked about that
Oh,
before.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But I don't know enough about, like,
Apollo.
Shakespeare as a person and, like, how he lived his life to know.
Yeah, same.
Again, clearly not an English major.
Things we learned about you today. Yeah. That's really funny. Yeah, okay. I like the interpretation that maybe there's one representing each, because that makes me feel...
Yeah. Because it feels...
But so I'm just saying we need more representation in general. Like, I'm just wondering who else is rotating on
Yes.
here. And can I show up on a day that is not just, like, all, like, 3 white dudes? That's all I'm asking for. I mean, I don't know for sure that Minos is a white dude, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. Yeah, or just in general, could you just, like, not have a panel of 3 men judging
Please,
you?
preferably, judging my life. Like, that's just now. That's just Earth.
Yeah.
That's just boring.
That's just being on the internet.
It's been done. Yeah, being on the internet. Let's change it up a little, please, people.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Lord. Yeah.
No, it would be fun for us to think through, like, prominent figures.
Or, like, who do you want to be judged by, you know?
Yeah. So. And I wonder if, like, I was thinking, like, I wonder if maybe for, like, scientists or musicians, like, if you can get, like, a panel that's maybe geared more towards you. Like,
you get me, right? You understand why I lived the way I lived. That's funny. I actually, like, a little moment of appreciation for Jane Goodall, who passed recently. Yeah. And definitely, I think, is in Elysium. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
Saying hi to Steve Irwin. Reuniting.
Yeah. So, yeah. And, you know, we're filming this in October, so we're starting to come up on, like, Day of the Dead and, like, things like that. Yeah. So I'm kind of thinking about, you know, just holding some space for all the people who aren't with us anymore.
Yeah.
So when we're getting our explanation of the Fields of Elysium as a special reward, having a punishment as another option, and most people, well, they just lived. Nothing special, good or bad, so they go to the asphodel fields. And Grover describes them as, imagine standing in a wheat field in Kansas forever.
Poor Kansas.
I know. So, yeah, poor Kansas. Though, you know, there's no place like home, so they get various representations there. I just thought my feet would hurt. Like, if you just say the word standing forever, I was like, that's not neutral. Like, try doing anything where you have to stand for multiple hours and, like, your feet and your back would be hurting. I don't think that's the experience. Like, it seems like when Hazel describes it, and in general, it's kind of just like a
floating,
disembodied, but just the description of that.
No, I know, yeah.
But then also, I was like, isn't that the exact setting where Percy and Jason fight each other?
Oh, Kansas. I think you're right. I think it is Kansas.
Like, in a field. I don't know if it's wheat or corn. And so I was just like, that's just kind of interesting to me. And, like, when we get there, I don't know if we'll remember many years down the line when we get there, but just the idea of, like, thinking of that almost as, what if that represents the field of asphodel, and, like, what does that mean for that scene? Was interesting to me.
That is interesting.
I don't know. I don't have an answer, but it just, I was like, that, we see that, actually. Yeah. Like, we see that exact thing described.
No, that's true. That is interesting. Okay. We'll need to make a note of that, and then hopefully remember that we made a note of that.
Yes. In, like, 5 books.
Yeah. But then we get this really, really fascinating moment, because they recognize a couple of the black-robed ghouls had pulled aside one spirit and were frisking him at the security desk, and they recognize his face as the preacher who made the news for having raised millions of dollars for orphanages and then got caught spending the money on stuff for his mansion, like gold-plated toilets and an indoor putt-putt golf course. Anyways, I don't want to go down that, but there are a lot of things reference there where I was like, okay, yep.
Well, and this is very much like, certainly there are real life examples of similar things. Yes. And I especially like the concept of his Lamborghini for the Lord.
Oh, yes.
Like, that's perfect, because that totally could be a thing, and it just encapsulates that whole sort of stereotype of person. Yes. But apparently he dies when he's in a police chase, and his Lamborghini for the Lord goes off a cliff.
Yeah. But because it's in particular preacher, Percy's kind of having a moment of like, but if he's a preacher and he believes in a different hell, like what's happening here? And Grover shrugs and says, who says he's seeing this place the way we're seeing it? Humans see what they want to see. You're very stubborn or persistent that way. And I just like, I don't know, I just find this so fascinating on so many levels because like, one, there's kind of an implication of like any individual concept of the underworld, like it then makes me think like, okay, well, they're seeing it in this way, but like, what is the capital T truth of what the underworld is if every human sees it based on their own conception of it and their own belief system? And then also because Rick Riordan has written like the Kane Chronicles and Magnus, like just where do all of these different like belief systems and stuff fit? Like, yeah, it just sent me down a whole mental rabbit hole of like what's real and what's not real, and like what like they're in a physical tangible space, but like if you see it, like it's
and like are what Percy, Annabeth, and Grover are saying what's actually real? Like, yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really interesting question. Can like multiple things exist at the same time? Are they in the same place or different places? Do you get sent to different places depending on what you believe? Like, I do think it's really interesting. And like back to the idea of like Rachel Elizabeth Dare goes to the underworld, like what would Rachel see, and like would that be the capital T truth or like not? So I agree.
Would it just be like the capital T truth for Greek mythology, but not like the capital T truth of like outside
seeing everything?
Like
I'm thinking now of like the Watcher in Marvel. It's like like we don't necessarily know of a being that can like zoom out and like see everything, but that would be who would know all the things.
Oh man, the Watcher for
Greek,
that would
for
be
the Percy
fun.
Jackson series, like or just like Percy the Riordan verse,
Riordan verse. Who is the Watcher? Maybe it's just
that
Rick
would be
Riordan.
Interesting. I guess he's the
Watcher.
He's the Watcher.
Which, hey, okay, you haven't seen this, but that would be Dimension 20 shout out Never After series. Again, I'm so sorry I'm making all these references this time.
That's great. No, that's okay. Everybody, again, that's Team Alisa right there.
That would very much be making Rick Riordan the Watcher of...
That's fun. Yeah. That's a fun idea. Kind of brings him into it in a way that's fun. A little meta.
Yes. Yeah.
So as we are hearing this from Grover, we're still having the howling is so loud. It is shaking the ground, and Percy's like, where is that coming from?
Where?
Like,
who could that be?
Yeah. And then finally, 50 feet in front of them, the green mist shimmers, and standing just where the path splits into 3 lanes is an enormous, shadowy monster. And apparently Percy hadn't seen it before because Cerberus is half transparent like the dead. And so until he moves, he blends in whatever is, behind. So that's kind of the explanation that we get. Yeah. Only the eyes, and teeth looked solid. And, of course, he's staring directly at Percy Jackson because that is just what monsters do.
Yep. And all Percy can think to say is, he's a Rottweiler.
So cute.
I know. Which the sad kind of thing that my brain went down is, does he have his tail or not?
I know. We don't get to find out.
No.
I hope so.
I know, me too.
But oh my god, imagine the pain of like I have been around dogs that have like really big tails that are like, kind of that bulky, they can cause kind of injury and like
they can bruise you.
Yeah, it feels like your leg's gonna break when it hits you. Like I can't even imagine like how many spirits would be getting like just flipped aside constantly if the tail was
just constantly getting doing
its thing. Yeah, just constantly.
Like when he sits down and all.
Just wishing. Which is a whole other thing I have questions about. But he's a Roddy. He's so cute.
Yeah. And Percy kind of has this moment where he's like, I'd always imagined Cerberus as a big black mastiff. But he's obviously a purebred Rottweiler, which, again, what that made me wonder was, like, has Cerberus always been a Rottweiler? Or has he changed? Or also, does his depiction, like, does he look different based on...
Because Rottweilers wouldn't, I don't know when they were first bred, but they wouldn't have always been in existence. So maybe it was more like whatever the most popular, like, Greek dog was at the time.
Yeah.
And beyond that. But I actually wondered if this is, like, sort of a dig at Harry Potter, because I think Fane is a Mastiff, and, like, with Fluffy and stuff. And it's like, actually, this is what Cerberus looks like.
Actually, the correct three-headed dog?
Rottweiler is the correct one. Thank you very much. I don't know, but funny. I just thought it was kind of funny.
You're starting beef between Rick Riordan and J.K. Rowling.
Well, we know, we don't even need to worry about who's going to win that.
No, we don't. No.
But he is twice the size of a woolly mammoth, mostly invisible, and has 3 heads. The dead are walking up, like, not even really noticing, I think, that there's a dog there. Like, they're just parting around him. The Easy Death is walking right between his front paws and under his belly. And he's tall enough that they're not even bumping it, against him at all. So it's, and then Percy says, interestingly, I'm starting to see him better. Why is that? And Annabeth says, I'm afraid it's because we're closer to being dead. So we have another one of those, like, woof moments.
Yes.
This is getting real. And Cerberus's middle head is sniffing the air and growling.
Yep. And that's when Percy notes that Cerberus can smell the living. And this is then when we get our next kind of nod to Grover goes, but that's okay because we have a plan. And so we're like, okay, plan part 2. Like, we had a plan not only for Charon and how to get into the underworld, but we also did, which makes sense for Annabeth. Like, I feel like in my brain, that's Annabeth who is spearheading. Like, we've got 2 major obstacles that we need to plan to get through.
So based on the bathtub story in the first part of the plan, I was less confident in the second part of the plan. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Let's see. Let's see how it is.
Unless in my brain, like, they had a little divide and conquer moment, and Annabeth went, Percy and Grover, you come up with the cover story for Charon. I will take care of how we're going to handle Cerberus. And I like to imagine that moment. That's when she discovered that they went with bathtub. Bathtub. She was like,
just there like,
are you kidding me?
What? Like, why did I trust you with this? Yeah, I like that. That's my new headcanon. I like that.
And then we find out that Grover can understand Cerberus.
Sure, as an animal.
Yes, and at first, because Percy asks, what is Cerberus saying? And Grover says, I don't think humans have a 4-letter word that translates exactly.
I know, I'm like, why is Cerberus already cussing at them? Like, threatening, I don't know, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And then this is when we discover the plan, which is that Percy takes a big stick out of his backpack, which is a bedpost that he'd broken off of Krusty's Safari Deluxe floor model. Yes. And basically their plan is dog wants stick,
big
throw
dog,
stick,
big stick,
big stick, throw stick, dog chase stick.
Yeah.
That's their plan.
Yep.
But again, to my point earlier of like Percy kind of being like pulling at the like underappreciated or like undervalued, he says, hey big fella, I bet they don't play with you much.
Right.
Like kind of playing it like you're,
absolutely.
Cerberus
he tries
probably...
that again. It's a little less
yes, Percy is not
for
as
him.
No, not really, because he waves the stick and the middle head is following the movement, but the other 2 heads are just like trained on him completely. And he yells fetch and throws the stick into the gloom, a solid good throw, and he hears it go kerplunk kersploosh in the river Styx. And Cerberus is completely unimpressed. He just
I don't think he's diving in that water.
No, he's not diving in that water. And now Cerberus makes a new kind of growl that is much deeper down, and Grover shares, he goes, thought you ought to know. Made me think of, doesn't actually say it, but it made me go, thought you ought to know. And apparently Cerberus was communicating that they've got 10 seconds to pray to the god of their choice, and after that, well...
He's giving them a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's letting them know, you can take a moment to pray, but I'm hungry.
Heads up and a choice. Yes.
Yep. But Annabeth, her moment of brilliance, she goes, wait. And she's rifling through her pack, and Percy's like, uh-oh, this is not going to work.
Yeah.
And Grover's like, 5 seconds, she'll be running out. Like, they're both panicking. Yeah. But Annabeth produces a red rubber ball the size of a grapefruit that was labeled Waterland, Denver, Colorado.
Which I'm just like, she had this the whole time?
I know. Why was this not plan A?
Why did she take it in the first place? What was the thought process? 2,
a souvenir
she had
for
this
the attic.
the whole time? Like, in her bag? 3, how big is her bag? That's something the size of the grapefruit must be searched for.
Also, the plot hole that I couldn't help but identify was that Percy's backpack magically returning to him after the Lotus Casino. I was like, how does she have her backpack and her Waterland stuff?
Because that goes to the idea that it's
unpacked.
Not Chronos magic that returns the backpack. It's the Lotus Casino magic that returns the backpack.
Oh, if they all magically
like,
just get their stuff back.
In the state that you came.
It's just that Percy's was the only one, but they're still in their clothes. Like they don't go back to their old clothes.
Their Waterland clothes.
And
That's
Percy's
true.
was the only one who's noticed. So the only thing.
Yep.
And I'm not saying
this is what
that
happens
to be
when
like,
you read books so carefully. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just you notice these things.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
Like it was just the moment where I was like, how does she still have anything from Waterland?
Yeah. So that's 4. 4. How does she still have her backpack? Of my list. But thank goodness she does, and it's an adorable moment that happens. It's just it has some questions that accompanies it.
Yes.
That's all.
Yes.
We have questions.
Yep. It does. But she produces this ball, and before Percy can stop her, she marches straight up to Cerberus and shouts, "See the ball? You want the ball, Cerberus? Sit." And Cerberus is like I'm making too many references today. The meme, the woman was too stunned to speak. It's like that's Cerberus in that moment. Like he's so thrown off that he doesn't know what to do. And I love this description that all 3 of his heads cocked sideways, 6 nostrils dilated.
Yeah.
And Annabeth calls sit again, and Percy is certain that this is all going to go awry, but instead Cerberus licked 3 sets of lips, shifted on his haunches, and sat, immediately crushing a dozen spirits who had been passing underneath him, and the spirits made muffled hisses as they dissipated.
And I'm like, where do they go? Like, are they just done? Like, they don't go to Asphodel? They just... I'm genuinely wondering, do they fast track to Asphodel, or are they just done?
In my brain, they reformed. They get dissipated, but then they kind of reform and
Well, imagine if you had to go back to the back of the line again.
Oh God, you're almost.
I feel like that's how it would work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you get crushed by a dog butt, and then you have to go to the back of the line.
Oh no.
Yeah. It's kind of the vibe I'm getting. Okay, that feels better. But I'm just I hope they didn't just leave. Where did they go?
In my headcanon, they're able to reform.
Okay, they reform.
Because they're spirits,
I got you. I'm with it.
Yeah. And Annabeth says, "Good boy," and then throws him the ball, which he catches in his middle mouth, but it's barely big enough for him to chew, and the other head starts snapping at the middle, trying to get it, and Annabeth orders, "Drop it," and they all stop fighting, and he makes a little whimper and then drops the ball at her feet. And now kind of knowing, okay, I've got his attention, he's zeroed in on me, she tells Percy and Grover to go to the easy death line now because it's faster. And Percy kind of argues, but she orders them in the same tone of voice that she's ordering Cerberus to go, and they're like,
I
okay,
love that. Got it. They're like, okay, yes, go.
Yes. You're like, yes, ma'am. I'm going now.
And Annabeth is in charge.
Yes. And so Percy and Grover like inching forward, and Cerberus is starting to notice, and he's growling, but Annabeth orders stay. Like, she's got him zeroed in on this ball. She's like, you know, this ball, you gotta stay. And he whimpers a little bit, but he stays. And as Percy is passing Annabeth, he's like, what about you? And she's like, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
He's pretty sure, but she's like, I know what I'm
Pretty
doing.
sure. Yeah.
And so Grover and Percy walk beneath Cerberus's legs, and I love that in this moment Percy goes, please, Annabeth, don't tell him to sit again. And I just want to be like, Percy, do you really think Annabeth is going to tell Cerberus to sit the moment y'all are walking?
It's just like a big prank.
Like,
then that's it.
Yeah.
Then they do have to get in line because they did.
For real, yes. Like,
if you die in the underworld, do you skip DOA? Probably, right? You just go to the line?
I'm sure. Yeah. Like, I completely understand his anxiety and his fear in this moment.
Yeah.
But it just felt so funny to specifically be like, please, Annabeth, don't tell him to sit. I was like,
as if she would.
She would never. But in this moment, Annabeth, like, holding the tattered red ball is like, we're not in her brain, but we can kind of tell from Percy's POV that she's come to the conclusion that this ball has one last trick in it. It's so messed up that it's not going to survive another trick, but she throws it anyways. Cerberus snatches it, and while Cerberus is distracted, Annabeth like walks briskly underneath him and joins him at the metal detector. And Percy's just kind of like in awe of her and what she was just able to do, and asks, how did you do that? And she replies breathlessly with tears in her eyes, Obedience School. When I was little at my dad's house, we had a Doberman. But Grover...
So sad.
It's so sad. But before we can really even sit in that, Grover's like, never mind that, we gotta go.
Let's go.
And then this is where we get even more sad, because now we start to hear Cerberus moaning pitifully from all three mouths, and Annabeth stops and turns to face him, and Cerberus is there panting expectantly, the tiny red ball in pieces in a puddle of drool at his feet. And she says, good boy.
I know, but her voice sounded melancholy and uncertain, and the monster's heads turned sideways as if worried about her.
I know. It's so sad.
They really formed a connection. And, like, I'm already sad about the Doberman, and, like, that just makes Annabeth having to leave home, like, so much sadder. And also, like, maybe she should have just taken the Doberman with her and, like, had, like, an animal sidekick on her journey to Camp Half-Blood.
Yeah.
But... yeah, then we get this, like, really beautiful connection. And I think it's also, like, a good example already early on of, like, really having us rethink and question monsters. Like, that's going to be a theme much more later. But I feel like this is one of our first ones where we're like, oh, like, that was a really emotionally connective experience. Like, this monster's not just scary. It's not just, like, threatening. Like, there is some heart here. And that just holds so many implications for, like, all the other monsters. And it's interesting because Percy was just very, very callous with Krusty and just kind of, like, has his whole worldview already figured out. And so him witnessing this with Annabeth is, like, kind of interesting to follow that up with.
Yes, I think it is very poignant to have this come directly after the Krusty chapter, because Percy becomes almost a little scary, like we talked about when it comes to Krusty in that chapter.
Yes.
And so, I do think it is very important as the reader and for Percy and just in general that this happened. So directly after the fact, and in the timeline of things it's immediate, because it's like a couple minutes later after Krusty's they're at DOA. Like, all of this is happening in real world time in incredibly quick succession
right after.
And Annabeth promises faintly, I'll bring you another ball soon, would you like that? And Cerberus just whimpers, and Percy says, I didn't need to speak dog to know Cerberus was still waiting for the ball. Which is just so sad.
Poor Bebe. Yeah.
And Annabeth says again, good dog, I'll come visit you soon, I promise. And then she's just like, let's go.
Yeah.
Like, very understandably.
Can't do this anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they all push through the metal detectors, which immediately screamed, which is such an apt description for how metal detectors sound.
Totally.
And flashing red lights start going off and you hear unauthorized possessions, magic detected, which I think is really funny that it's like their magic items set it off, not the fact that they're alive and not dead.
It can't tell that, but
it can tell that they have magic items that they shouldn't be bringing with them.
Right.
And Cerberus now starts to bark, and they've raced through the gate. And a few minutes later, they're hiding in a rotten trunk of an immense black tree as security ghouls scuttled past, yelling for backup from the Furies. And for whatever reason, we kind of get like comedy Grover.
I know, which I don't know if it's his main strength.
Yeah, I know.
Just based on this one example, though I don't want to judge someone based on one example.
Yeah, because Grover takes this moment to go, well, Percy, what have we learned today? And Percy replies with that 3-headed dogs prefer red rubber balls over sticks. And Grover goes, no, we've learned that your plans really, really bite. And I was just like, punny Grover is not really what I expected in this moment.
Same. Maybe that goes back to the idea that he's not as like spooked by this as he is, as you know, a human would be. Though I'm realizing we missed the opportunity to note that earlier a stick was thrown in these sticks.
Oh,
which is fun.
That is funny.
Yeah.
Like
that wasn't harped on, but I like that.
No, that's true. It's a very subtle
stick in the
pun.
Sticks. It is.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
It's there if you look for it. So I'm really realizing that.
But Percy kind of internally goes, I wasn't sure about that. But just like,
that's
so
his whole
how
reaction.
Seriously, he takes it. He's like,
yeah,
I don't think my plants bite. I'm not so sure about that.
Also, like, I don't think in the current day, like, that would be a way anyone would, like, describe something. You know what I mean? Like, it also feels like an old way of saying, like, an old funny pun, like we talk about sometimes with, like, the early 2000s stuff in here. So
absolutely. And he doubles down and he goes, I thought maybe Annabeth and I both had the right idea. It's
like,
really
it was a
funny
joke.
To me.
Percy, it was a joke.
I know. But he takes it so seriously.
I know.
And even to the point where he starts getting really self-reflective, because he goes, even here in the underworld, everybody, even monsters, needed a little attention once in a while. Like,
it feels like the end to like an after-school special.
I was about to say, it literally does.
Like, that's the conclusion of our, like, roll credits, roll the music. Like,
I know.
Yes.
And Percy really stays, though, in this kind of like somber self-reflective moment at the very end of this chapter, because he goes, I thought about that as we waited for the ghouls to pass. And he pretends not to see Annabeth wipe a tear from her cheek as she listened to the mournful keening of Cerberus in the distance, longing for his new friend.
I thought this was a really interesting end to a chapter, because that's it. That's the end of the chapter. And
that's all he wrote.
I felt like that's all he wrote. And I felt like, it was like that after school special, very reflective. Kind of like ending. B, like, I don't think that's what you expect when you're going into, like, we've entered the underworld, like, that it's going to be all about, like, grief in the sense of, like, dogs and the relationship of dogs and humans and, you know, like, you expect grief in terms of, like, the loss and death and things like that. But I think it's interesting that, like, it's a different kind of example of that. But also, I suppose we're inherently in the cliffhanger because we're in the underworld now, but it was really interesting to me as we're like rounding the corner to finish the book. We're in the underworld, like we're about to get to a chapter about finding out the truth, sort of, etc. Like, we don't get a cliffhanger, and it's like so many other chapters we got. It's not even like, and we turn to march toward the palace or whatever. It's like, it's longing for his new friend. It's like the end, and it just like sits you in that. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and the other thing that I found really interesting, like in addition to that, really interesting, was we've had now a few chapters in a row that have kind of had like 3 sections with like kind of little time jumps or like travel jumps, you know, in between them, and it almost feels like the chapters have been these, like, you get these 3 vignettes of these moments that like move either the relationship building forward or the plot forward, or kind of like take them from point A to point B. And this chapter also just emotionally stood out so differently from those other ones because we're staying from start to finish, like with the story. Like we don't ever actually really like cut away or jump forward at all in it. From the moment they enter DOA, we're like with them and we follow them through the whole time. And so it's just also very interesting with that, for it to then just end in this really like melancholic way. And yeah, like you're saying, to not be a plot cliffhanger, but instead just be like, this has been a very reflective chapter and it's going to end in that way.
Just stay in there. Yeah. I enjoy this chapter though. I like
Me
sitting
too.
in different feelings and there's some comedy and there's some references. All the things. So any final thoughts other than that for this chapter?
I think it's more so kind of what I was saying at the beginning, which is that I love how we really get like an Annabeth forward moment, and we really get to see her fully step up and like take care of them getting out of a situation. I think especially because like we came off of Waterland and she was shaky and just like appreciative of Percy, and then it was like the Lotus Casino and everyone got all jumbled up, and at Krusty's Annabeth and Grover, you know, got like taken first, and so Percy was the one who had to step up. And so I just really appreciate it was time that Annabeth had her moment of taking charge and showing how capable she is in like a high stress moment where their lives are on the line, and could not be more so given the fact that they're in the underworld. And so I love that we got that, and that it's like the fact that it then also ties back to like her past, which we've like slowly been learning about. And to your point of what you're saying earlier, that like it's kind of unexpected that going through the underworld is going to be this kind of like melancholic, wistful, not in like you're contemplating on death kind of way, but it's more so like it's making them, I feel like, contemplate on their lives, and like
for sure.
And so this moment of Annabeth like encountering a dog using skills she learned when she was little with her dad, with this Doberman they used to have, like it just it's very emotional, and I just really love that Annabeth, like, she gets her shining moment, because I feel like she struggled a little bit there, very understandably. And so I like getting to see her fully capable.
I love that. I agree. And as we're getting to the climax, it's like, it's time. It's time to have some of these moments before we start to really get into the thick of it. So before we end today, we will invite you to like and subscribe and leave 5-star reviews and share with your friends and all the things to get the podcast out there. We are nearing the end of this book. We're excited to start Sea of Monsters.
Yes.
And it will be coming out around the time that the TV show Sea of Monsters comes out. So many exciting things are afoot, are coming. So please do all the things. And we will see you next time for Chapter 19. We find out the truth. Sort of. Bye.
Bye.